You are about to enter the Create Unknown, and hopefully you come out of this a little bit stupider, which will actually make you smarter. If you saw the most recent Vsauce 2 video, you know exactly what I mean. So make sure to follow us over at patreon.com/thecreateunknown. It's free to follow. We're almost done with the new website, and we have some non-podcast content on the way. Don't forget that 100% of Patreon goes to producing this show and back into the TCU community, except for what Kevin spends on old Sony Discman. Listen to the whole episode to find out why. Patreon.com/thecreateunknown. The link's in the description. As a Canadian, who is your favorite Degrassi character?
Oh my god, this is so crazy, dude. This is so fucking crazy. Okay.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown. I am Kevin Lieber. With me, as always, as Matthew Tabor. Joining us today, specially though, from Canada, is Johnny Millennium, aka the Happy Console Gamer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and it's pretty funny. The borders are closed, but we can still communicate. Isn't that so amazing?
Yes, thanks to technology. And
Yeah.
Does that mean this is illegal? We're breaking the law right now by illegally crossing borders?
With our voices, I know. I don't know if there's a law about that. Who knows?
Well, I'm wearing a mask. I hope you guys are wearing masks as well, so nothing gets transmitted.
Oh, sorry about that.
This is really exciting for me because you and I have known each other for, at this point, it's kind of a scary
Yes.
long time,
It's
right? I mean, how long is it?
It is 20 years. And that's a strange...
20 years?
20 years, yeah, because
Whoa.
we met on a video game forum like 20 years ago, trying to find some information about certain video games, and then we ended up talking, and then I think you played Phantasy Star with me back in the day. Were you on Phantasy Star Online back then?
No, I was not in that group. No. I know that you had, Phantasy Star Online group.
Big time.
That you played for thousands of hours.
750 hours, something like that. It was crazy because we were all part of a big group back then. So I kind of thought that we'd mingled that way, but I guess you didn't also come on to that. But we did talk in the forums quite a bit. I did get to know you because there were some people who stood out a little bit more. And you were one of the high profile people that I definitely got to know there.
Yeah, forums were a thing for all of you children listening. That
Explain the forum to the fetuses in the audience.
Before Discord existed, people used to talk to each other on forums, and it was a revelation to actually be able to talk to even just a handful of people that also liked games like Phantasy Star and even like Final Fantasy. You know, Final Fantasy VII Remake just came out, and it's huge. There are like commercials on TV and stuff. But back then, when we were playing it, it was like you were a nerd.
Yeah, I was about to say it was the nerdy underground, and we're like, oh my god, there's other people like me. I'm not alone. And I always looked at the hobby though. I never looked at it as a nerdy thing. I was like, why is playing video games and watching movies and anime and all this stuff? Why is that classed as nerdy? I never said it was, and I've tried it on my show for years to never refer to it as nerdy, because it's not. And now it's popular. Now it's cool to like all that stuff. Go figure. Strange.
Now there's an entire
remember the
class
kids
of
in
people
college.
named Gamer.
What's that?
Go ahead.
The kids in... Yeah, gamer is a thing, isn't it? People advocating for a gamer president. Look at how far your people have come.
Yeah, it's really strange over the years. I mean, yeah, like, I don't know why it was ever classed as such a bad thing. Like, put it this way. Let me tell you a little story. I was telling somebody this a couple weeks ago, and they were like, what? I remember in like 1988 going to a comic book convention in Canada, Vancouver here. My dad drove me there, because I was a young kid. And I remember waiting in the lineup, and it's just stinky, sweaty guys everywhere. And I remember I got into the convention, and I was so blown away. There was this one guy walking with a girl. I'm not kidding. And it was such a shocking thing that I was like, oh my God, he's with a girl. Like, how did he get her here to come here? I'm like, I want to find a girl who does this. And it was shocking to see that. But there's no, nowadays there's cosplay and there's more girls at these conventions than guys, which is great. But it wasn't always like that. And it's so neat that it kind of switched. But in a way, I kind of miss the old days in a way as well. Not for the conventions and no women around, but for that it was a very special time. And it was kind of like our little secrets. And now it's everybody's secret. So it's not a secret anymore, so.
You probably witnessed like a human trafficking situation and didn't even know it when you saw it. I mean, she was probably a hostage of some sort.
And she had those please help me eyes, going on. Too funny.
As someone is making her paw through like Akira laser discs or whatever.
Well, that was the time when Akira came out. It was like the Marvel comic adaptation came out, the colored version. Which was like, we were happy together. People would be screaming now. People would be going crazy now. Yeah, it's funny, but back then everybody got along. Everybody got along in the nerd communities. I'll call them nerd communities for the sake of our argument there. But now everybody's mad about everything. Everybody's always angry about stuff. And granted, there's some reasons to be, but I always find I put out a video and everybody's always arguing, and I'm always like, oh man, I don't care if anybody doesn't like the video, they don't like me personally, but they're always arguing with each other. It's so funny, but it's the passion. Like, the world can come to an end, but people will always be arguing about video games till the end of time. It's one of those things. It was kind of there in the 80s, but it's really, with social media, it's unbelievable now. It's nuts.
Do you remember a big argument like that from the 80s? Like, what's the earliest proper argument in that community that you can recall?
Oh my God.
So there must have been something.
Holy cow. That's a crazy question. You know what? I think when they were taking Star Trek and making The Next Generation, that was like, I was the biggest person. I would have been on social media now going, it's going to fail. I was like, it's going to fail. It's going to be terrible. And I watched the first episode and it was horrible. And I watched a bunch more and it wasn't very good. And then it slowly got better. And then but nowadays Star Trek Picard, everybody's going crazy about that. And I have my own issues with it. So, but that's the earliest that I can probably think of. Is there anything that you guys can think of? Like, refresh my brain here a bit.
Star Trek versus Star Wars was the earliest thing I could think of as like an argument between classes of nerds.
Right.
It's like hardcore Trekkies versus like the hardcore Star Wars fans. But other than that, I don't know. I just want to pull back a little bit.
Sure.
In case anybody listening can't tell, Johnny is an OG when it comes to all of this stuff. And not just an OG of like this like gaming and anime, but of YouTube as well. I mean, I looked it up today, and do you know you're coming up on your 12th YouTube anniversary? This like next week.
Yeah, I trust me. I feel it in my bones. It's funny. But you did Jerry Bloop back in the day. What year was that?
It was around the same era, and that was kind of like one of the things that I felt like you and I bonded on even further, is that we both started doing YouTube kind of at the same time when not a lot of people were. And I've never asked you this before, but the name Happy Console Gamer, was that directly to combat angry video game nerd and irate gamer, which it seemed like those were the popular gaming YouTube channels of that era?
Yes, it wasn't to combat, to use that word per se, but it was like they're the angry video game nerd, and I was like, these guys were angry about video games. They were all upset, and I knew that was a shtick, and they were doing quite well with it. I thought, man, I just want to talk about video games that I love, and I honestly, and I've said this a lot, is that it was a time period when I thought a lot of video games were going to be forgotten about, that people weren't talking about them, and like Phantasy Star was just disappearing. Ys was disappearing. And I thought, I really like these games, and even Earthbound, a lot of people were talking about Earthbound at that time. There was they ended up becoming one or two videos later on, but, or even the Neo Geo. I had the very first Neo Geo video ever up on YouTube. It's crazy to think about, but I thought if I don't talk about these games, they're going to be forgotten about. And that's going to be it. I'm like, and I didn't want to come in front of the camera. That was the last thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to see somebody else's videos on all this stuff. And when I realized that they didn't exist, I thought, well, maybe I have to make the videos. And I hated it at first. it was really tough for me to get in front of that camera and talk. And because I was a smoker at the time, I was very thin, very insecure at looking at the camera. I didn't like doing any of that kinds of stuff. And I slowly, it took about 12 years, but I slowly got, I think I'd like to say a little bit better, a little bit, but it was very, I thought it was important to do that because AVGN and all them were doing their own thing. And I was like, and I thought, well, if I can, get an audience, a small audience, even from doing my stuff, that would be super great. So that's how I started. Yeah.
And I can't believe you had the first Neo Geo video ever on YouTube. That's really crazy. But I'm glad that you went down that path, because that was the other thing I was going to ask, is it seemed like a kind of a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways. The types of videos that you were making were actually positive and celebrating games.
Right.
And they still do. I mean, I remember recently DMing you complaining. Well, I was complaining about Days Gone to you being all janky. And you're like, what? What's janky about it? But you have like the most positive outlook on things of anybody in like the gaming community.
I got to explain something here, because I think I need to explain it more on my own show. But I only review and talk about games that I enjoy. I don't, like, sometimes I'll do a games I hate episode, but that's a special episode for that. But like when I go to review Final Fantasy VII, I have a small inkling that I might be a fan of it because I love the original so much. And I just played the latest one and I really enjoyed it. And I know there's a lot of things that a lot of people have problems with. And I totally get what they have problems with. But is this the same for you guys? It's got to be. When I was younger, I would play a video game for escape because it was fun. It was an entertaining thing. And I, even if I had some issues with it, I'd look past it because it was fun. And so I've kind of always had that mentality, unless the game is broken, unless it's Mass Effect Andromeda. When I was playing that game, I could not get with the program. I was like, no, there's some good things here. I'm like, no, this is really, and it got me mad because it was so broken. I was seeing things happen, like fabric was floating sideways for no reason. I was like, oh, no, that's unacceptable. But I don't give games free passes. Like, if you actually watch my Final Fantasy VII video, and I'm sure you won't until you're finish it yourself, but I talk about a lot of the negative aspects of it, but I do it in such a way that nobody can even, it's not like going, this game sucks because of this. I was going, yeah, this is one of the problems I had was this, but to this, to this, to this. And it's so slight that, but I do bring it up. I'm just not really angry about it because I don't know what the point of being angry about it is. It's a problem I had. So what? I'm not super mad about it. Like, let's get real. It's a video game. I'm like, it's fun.
I want to highlight something you said so it doesn't get lost. You said that you went to look for videos about a certain topic that you were interested in. They weren't there, so you decided to make them.
Right.
That's something that, I talk to so many people who are like, oh, I want to start a podcast, I want to do a video, but I don't know what to do. And it's a valid path to think, what do I wish I could see that I can't find?
Right.
And then, well, you do that thing, right? So that's a cool thing, and I think a lot of really good projects come out of that mindset. But as you guys are talking about old video games and some of the newer ones and how you feel about them, I'm recently getting back into video games. So I played just Atari and NES in the 80s. Then I stopped, and I hadn't played a game until I got a PS4 a month ago.
Wow.
Okay. So I have this tremendous gap, but I obviously know people like Kevin who play a lot of games. So I hear a lot, right? And one of the things that's so weird to me right now is that I have expectations when I purchase a game, because I can see a review on YouTube, I can read articles, I can look at ratings on things. And I remember with an NES game, like at best, there was like a page in Nintendo Power that advertised a game and had a couple screenshots from it. And so I was a lot happier with the game. I didn't recognize those flaws. I didn't even know about them because I was coming into the games fresh and it just seemed like the way it was. And now I'll get something kind of going into it knowing that, like, you know, the combat system is flawed. The UI isn't intuitive, you know, whatever. I never knew that stuff before. Now I do. And do you think that changes the feeling of playing a new game?
Kevin, you want to answer that?
It depends on the game and how much expectations I set for myself on it. Like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, Johnny, you're right. Like I have avoided everything about that
Good.
because I want that pristine, like one of a kind, starting fresh experience. I don't want to know things about it. I don't want spoilers. I've done a really good job at that. Other games where I'm on the fence about them, I will kind of dig into videos and reviews and stuff like that because games are expensive, and especially it's an expensive hobby if you're buying like a game. Like every time I finish a game, I start another one. That ends up being like a lot of games. So to answer your question, yes, and also I remember vividly as a kid going to Toys R Us and picking out NES games strictly because I thought the box art was cool. And that was all you had to go on. It was like, oh, Mystic Defender, this looks cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then, or Legacy of the Wizard, that sounds awesome. Actually, that game really sucks. And there's no way to know until you got home and played it.
And the funny thing is, back then, you'd bring a game home and it would suck, but you'd play it, you'd get as much out of it as you could because that was the only game you were getting for probably 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, unless you bored, you swap games with your friends. I play games that were horrible to try to get something out of them. Maybe that's why I have a positive outlook in gaming in a lot of ways, type of thing. And, it brings up a really interesting point, though. So that's why I like to review games, because I like to play them before I hear any negative stuff to ruin it for me, so I can go in fresh, as you said. So, like, a great example of that is Resident Evil 3, the remake on the PS4. I got sent a review code and I went through the game. I just did some first thoughts on it and I really liked it. And the one thing that I always do, anything I'm sent a review code for, I'll always go and buy the game. But it was interesting to see in the comments section where everybody's coming at things from such a different vantage point, the entry point, I should say. So myself, why did I like the game? Because I'm a fan of Resident Evil 3 from so many years ago. Nearly 20 years ago. And I was going to buy the game no matter what because I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I'm a hardcore. I guess I'm hardcore. But there's a lot of people saying, wait, you can finish the game that fast? I'm not buying that for $60. Their point is super valid. So everybody's coming from things, making a lot of sense. So like when I say everybody's arguing a lot, they're usually arguing a lot of very good points, but there's so much arguing. Right? It's like, why should I buy that game when I can, I want to get a 25-hour experience out of it. I'm not spending $60 on that. That's valid. That's totally valid. So, it's interesting how things have changed where reviews can make a difference as well. If you hear a game's 3 hours, you're like, oh, no, I'm out. But if a hardcore fan's into it, they're going to buy it. So it's interesting to see where everybody's coming from as a consumer, I guess. I want to say, yeah.
And for those, who have listened to our podcast for a while, one of the things that I think we talked about recently is just sometimes it's not a good idea to follow your passion when it comes to YouTube or kind of when it comes to like trying to make a career. At least for me, I mentioned in my instance, I had an opportunity to do Vsauce 3 instead of Vsauce 2. And Vsauce 3 was going to be about video games. And that's where I started on YouTube. But I made a conscious decision not to go down that path because I wanted to separate what I was doing all the time on YouTube from what I was doing when I'm not on YouTube to decompress from that, which is play video games. So I'm fascinated to know how that has worked out for you to dive so headfirst into your passion and also kind of like merge that with your job and your career and what you think about all the time and are working on all the time.
It's interesting. The number one thing that I strive to have is passion, is to not lose the passion in it. And I can't. It's impossible. I'm 46 years old and I still love this stuff like I did when I was 14. So I try to do 3 things when I do a video. First of all is number 1, please myself. Play a game that I enjoy and really enjoy that experience or try to enjoy it. Create a video that I think people would want to watch and do some editing that people would semi-enjoy. And also do a video that's going to reach a lot of people, type of thing. I've done about 1,000 videos. So I've covered myself. So I want to have a video that just does well, type of thing. So I try to do all of those things, but I don't, I'm very particular about what I play. I don't review Call of Duty games. I don't do that because I can't bring anything to that. That's irrelevant for me to do. I don't play Assassin's Creed games because I'm not really a big fan, but I know a lot of people love it. I'm not the guy to do that. So I think what it is, I pick and choose very meticulously what I'm going to do. I actually, next to me, have a list for every month of the games that are coming out that I'm interested in. Not just every game, only the ones I'm interested in. So for this month, it's very, very simple. It's like 4 games. Trials of Mana, it was Resident Evil 3, Final Fantasy 7, and I think, there was one game I thought was this month. It's for May. But so it's about 3 games. Those are the games I've been interested in for the month. So just picking and choosing, type of thing. I don't get burnt out though. I don't go, oh no, video games. I'll tell you though where I was. Oh yeah, I know. Like I escape into video games, not away from them. But I tell you, the one thing that does burn me out is playing games in a very tight review window. So I got the review code for Final Fantasy VII on a Thursday, and I finished it on Saturday. And it was, that was a 24-hour playthrough, bare bones. No, I did a few quests and all that. And I did play on classic mode, which is easier. I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm not trying to say it wasn't. But I needed the core game to see what it was all about and all of that. So that burnt me out. I was near the end of the game and I was like, oh my God. I'm dying. It's just like my eyes are going square, or it was really a little bit tough on that. So some of those can really kill me. I remember Fire Emblem was another one that did that to me. That killed me. Doing that one. And my wife was away in Italy at the time, and I was just me, and I was just like, I was just doing like 14, 15-hour days playing it. It was pretty tough. Yeah, but hey, I am not complaining. I'm playing a video game early. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining, but I take it seriously to really to get through the stuff and to really give an honest impression. And I always give an honest impression. But I'm playing Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem. And it's a great Fire Emblem game type of thing. So yeah, that's how I kind of do all of that stuff.
Well, that's what I've always wondered. Sorry, Matt. I've always just wondered about reviewers in general. Is like, does it suck the joy out of the thing that you love to have to look at it with a critical lens? And I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know, Matt, if you have any thoughts on that just in general.
Well, there's a parallel here with people reading books. And you talk to people about, something, they'll post on Facebook or whatever, like, oh, I really enjoyed this book, whatever. It comes up in conversation way more than it did when we were 18 and younger, or like during college or anything like that. There's a big, big difference between doing something on your own time, even if it's the same book. Somebody who went to school with Kevin and I posted about this a while ago, a book that they were assigned in 10th grade. And I forget which one, but it was a classic, like For Whom the Bell Tolls or something like that. And they enjoyed it. And it was like, oh, I hated this when I was 16, but I really like it now. Well, things are different, personally and with interests and all that stuff for sure. But at the same time, there's a huge difference between reading something on your own time and doing it because you have to write a report on it by Thursday, or you've got to get this chapter done by Friday. And the same thing can have a very different feel when that deadline is imposed. And I feel like that's, Johnny, a lot, that's pretty similar to what you're saying, where, man, it sucks when you've got to play a game on a deadline.
Yeah.
Or at least if it doesn't suck, it alters the mood around doing that.
You brought up a really interesting point as well, that reading a book when somebody was younger and then them coming back to it when they're older, how that changes. And that's actually with video games too. I played some NES games in the last year that were super hard when I was younger. Even when I was 14 years old, I thought I was pretty good at playing video games. I'm way better at them now than I was then. Like Ninja Gaiden, for instance. I'm way better at Ninja Gaiden now than I was back then. And I had nothing but time to play Ninja Gaiden. I think I got frustrated and it's like, oh no, maybe I have more patience now. I don't know. It's really strange, but it's interesting how the product remains the same, but the humans change through time. And how we look at it, like, especially like talking about that book, how that book, like reading a book when you're like 12 years old and reading it when you're in your 40s, the different level of experience you have to take it in. So some games, there's only been a few that I've done, like Phantasy Star, which I love so much. I come back to reviewing that every 5 years because it's my favorite video game of all time. It gives me an excuse to, but I'm always able to add something different, more experience to why it was so good. And I've gotten to the point where I've nearly been able to explain it. Where sometimes, because it's hard to describe why you love something. You can say, oh, because graphics and this, but it's also the time when it came out. And that was like the best summer of my young life. It was before I met women and got corrupted by women. I was just hanging with my nerdy friends playing games. It was like a nice, innocent time. And so that's why, and I've gotten close to explaining why it's that important to me. So yeah, it's kind of funny that how reviewing changes in time. I should come back to some games in time because sometimes I review something and about 5 years later I'm like, oh no, I don't think that anymore. Like it's kind of changed a little bit, sometimes a little bit. Maybe I just stopped caring for the series and got bitter about it. I don't know, type of thing. But so it's Matt, I got to ask you a question. So you're just getting back into video gaming. Where does one start? How's your journey gone? Like, what do? You get up in the morning and say, I'm going to read the newspaper to find out the latest video games. What do you do?
This has been really interesting because for me, it's necessarily a totally social process with people I know and who know me.
Right.
So I started out by asking Kevin, what games do you think I would like? Here are some things that I've enjoyed in the past. You know me, like I'm not into this certain class of games. Just give me some recommendations. And I did that with Kevin. I did that with Mini Kudos is a YouTuber from Australia who has been really good with recommendations. A few others, and they've been kind of spot on. Ben W., who produces this show, turned me on to a really cool game called Tooth and Tail, which it's a lot of fun. It's in short little bursts because I don't have time for long gaming sessions, right? And so I love the fact that I can play like a little mission in Tooth and Tail. And if I have 20 minutes to play, that's completely valid. So it's really been about talking to people and then, poking around a little bit on reviews because I do want to get a sense of things like how long gameplay takes.
Right.
So that's been pretty neat. And the other thing is that I want to play games with my girlfriend. And so like Overcooked 2 was the first game that we got because that's just a fun couch co-op kind of game.
Yeah.
That was a recommendation, and it was an excellent one. So we've had a really good time.
Has there been any bad recommendations where you're playing the game and you're like, God damn you, Kevin, how would you recommend this?
Not yet.
Oh.
Not yet. Truly, I don't have... there haven't been any losers yet, but there also haven't been very many games.
Right.
So, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. The first game I actually played was The Last of Us.
Oh, wow.
That came with the bundle with the system. And that was such a wake-up call about what video games now are like versus, playing like Blades of Steel.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So
I must have...
It was shocking.
I'm very jealous. I mean, that's almost like, oh my God, like a drug addict for like me, into video games, walking into a store and there's nothing but drugs. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine not playing all of those games all those years. And I get to experience them all now. I'd be overload. I'd be overdosing. It'd be nuts.
You'll watch those documentaries where somebody has been released from prison after like 35 years and they walk out and they have to learn what like the internet is and what an iPhone is, and that there are 200 TV channels instead of 4 and all of these crazy things they knew about from being in prison, but they had no real sense of it and hadn't experienced it. And that's how it feels for me in video games now. I cannot get over the fact that there are so many buttons on this controller.
Yes.
On the PS4 controller.
Yeah.
And the fact there are sticks is the strangest thing to me. I cannot get over that.
Wow.
I'm like D-pad and like AB, and that's where my mind stops. So it's been a real process, and I'm easing into it, but it's been a lot of fun. It's occasionally frustrating, but it's frustrating in a fun way.
Right.
Like a challenging, like there hasn't been a thing where I'm just like, this is a wall that I've run my head into, I'm done. I haven't had that yet.
That's absolutely amazing.
So it's been neat. Yeah, but everybody's extremely helpful. I mean, you guys know what this is like, where if you ask somebody to recommend video games or something like that, they're absolutely thrilled to do it. Nobody's like, oh, don't bother me with that question.
Gatekeeping you.
It's like, well, it's like, well, I'm happy to answer, but unfortunately, I only have 5 or 6 hours today.
Right.
So it's been, it's been really kind of nice and fun and helpful, and they're cool conversations. So I enjoy that a lot.
That's such an interesting journey for you. I'm very jealous of that. Very jealous of that. Get to experience all these amazing games, and there's too many for me already. But I imagine I didn't play all the games for the last 20 years, and then boom, that's wow. Yeah, we've come a long way from 2 buttons. That's for sure. Yeah.
That's why
you be
Matt,
in like a medically induced coma on purpose just so you can feel this 20 years from now?
Freeze his brain.
Imagine in 20 years you hadn't played a video game and then you did VR for the first time.
Yeah.
That'd be too much. That would be too much. I even talked about it in my Final Fantasy VII remake, my first thoughts on it, that it would be so crazy to take this game back in time to myself when I was 23 years old, which was 23 years ago, and said, here, play this game. And I have a high definition TV. My brain in full rendered 3D the way it is now, I even said, I would have passed out. I would have, couldn't handle it. It would have been unbelievable. And I'd be like, we're getting a remake in 23 years of my game that I'm playing right now. It's so amazing. And yeah, wait for another 23 years. What's going to happen? It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
Some of the screenshots of just that opening scene where where Cloud jumps off the train and he's like in the alleyway next to the train, comparing then and now, is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to see like what Cloud with his like 9 polygons like in 1997 or whatever compared to full HD.
And I think, not sounding like cheesy here or anything, but that's why I remain happy with video games, is because I was happy with what it was then with Final Fantasy VII. With Final Fantasy VII now, it's like, wow. And the thing is, I always say, if anybody doesn't like the new one, well, you've got the old one there to go play if you don't like it. So it's like, you can't lose.
Yeah. Are there any games that you've gone back to and really had a hard time playing? Like, one thing that popped for me recently is Silent Hill 2. Like, I tried to play Silent Hill 2 because I beat Neo 2 last week and I was waiting for Final Fantasy 7 to come out. So I was just going through some old games and I popped in Silent Hill 2. I played it for like an hour and I was just like, gosh, this is really slow.
Yeah.
Really slow.
I'd have to pull out because like for that kind of stuff, I want to pick the right answer, but there's a lot of PS2 games that I sometimes play. I'm like, ooh. I'd have to look at the shelf and look at... The only problem is most of the games on my shelf I really like, so... Yeah, there's a lot of older games that just don't hold up as well as they used to. And that's why I'd love to see, for games, I'm just looking at the shelf, like Parasite Eve is a good game, but it needs an update. That game needs to be completely remade. And given the full treatment. I mean, that's something I would give anything for. It's showing its age. It's a classic, but it's showing its age, a little bit. The combat and all that. It's very novel when you play games now. You're, oh, okay, yes. I like this. It's it's a little bit.
For people listening here, since this is audio only, I need to tell you that as he was talking about this, Johnny turns around and looks at what seems to be about 71,000 games behind him. As he's thinking about what this is going to be, like pouring over. It's like Harry Potter going to like the library that's a million stories high.
Well, let me tell you, a lot of people come over here. They're like, oh, I want to see the games room. And they come in and like, oh, it's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. It's not a big room. It's just all the games are collected behind me. You know, and we're talking about a collection of since I was 14 years old, like probably 1987 up, you know, like to now. And just buying these games because I enjoyed them and I like them. So, yeah, it's like some people, isn't it weird why some people collect? Some people just go and buy an entire collection in one go. And I'm not into that. Every game behind me here, the one thing I can say, I like. Every game I like. I bought, and I could tell you about every game on this shelf. Every single one. No matter what it is, you know, every game.
Do you have insurance on that, by the way? Because I always wonder this with video game guys and people who have massive record collections as well. We have some people in the Discord who are really into vinyl. And I always wonder, at a certain point, do you insure this? Because what would happen if, you know, you had a fire in that room and lost the games?
You're going to learn something very, very interesting about me at this point. This is so wild. You'll not believe it. So you'll look at all the games behind me and you'd be like, oh, wow, he's a very materialistic guy. And, people can see that, like, just seeing how much stuff I have. But I'll tell you this much. If it was all gone, I'd be okay. It's.
You wouldn't replace the collection,
no.
or would you just start to rebuild again and say, well, I love this process, so let's do it again?
That was that. This stuff I bought as I bought these games as I played them. Over the years, I've gone back and gotten some games that I bored off friends of mine to own a copy for myself. But if I was to lose it all, so be it. I mean, I don't sound like cheesy here, but what's really important to me in life is my family and all of that. So if this stuff blows up in a fire, the wrath of God, he can have it. I mean, just take it. But there's only one game, and that's my Phantasy Star would I be upset about. Because that one game really means so much to me. That's the one game that, if this place is on fire, I'd be like reaching in, grabbing that. I'd be out. But everything else can go because I understand it's all materialistic more than anybody. And I have it all because it's fun for me. But it doesn't define me as a human. And I think I do a show about video games that I like, and I think people are always like, man, he's just so into video games. And people don't really know me outside of that. You know, they don't see that what I enjoy doing is like going and walking with my wife in a forest. Well, when we could go out into forests, you know, because of the quarantine and stuff going on right now. But going for walks and going for dinners and stuff and having those kind of moments and spending time with my friends, not playing video games. Like one of my friends, Rob, who's on the show whenever he can be these days. When we get together these days, we don't do episodes of the show. We have our time for us. We will play video games, but we won't record it and we won't talk about it. It's just for us. So yeah, so some things are held back a little bit. So, but I think that's, people don't seem to see that. I am doing a show that, you know, people are like, oh, you know, shows on the internet that I remember people thinking that YouTube, when, you know, Kevin, for when we started, you're not doing a show. There's no such thing as a show on YouTube. That's silly. The shows are on TV. But I was like, no, this is a show. I'm producing this. I'm creating it. It's going up. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people don't really realize that it is a show. You know, I'm producing for that.
And I'm really glad, Matt, that you brought up the video game wall, because I wanted to ask about this earlier and I forgot. Everybody almost seemingly that does YouTube gaming shows is doing it. Their set is them in front of their gigantic wall of video games and like collectibles. Okay. But since you have been here since the beginning, do you remember who the first person was to set up a camera in front of a video game wall?
It was me. It actually was me. And I'll tell you what happened. I was sitting here. I just quit smoking 2008. I'm setting up all the shelves. And I bought these 2 Mickey shelves from IKEA, and I took all my video games out of my closet because that's where video games are all over the place. You know how it was. And I'm like, okay, while I'm talking and doing the show, and I didn't know what the show was going to be, how I was going to do the show, but I'm like, I'm going to put all the video games behind me. And then I remember saying, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. People are going to laugh me off the internet when they see a grown man with video games behind me because it was so new. Like some people like AVGN had video games around, but he didn't have a shelf behind him. Not quite. That stuff kind of came later. But for a guy sitting here with video games all around him, that had not been done ever. And I remember thinking it was the most embarrassing thing that I've ever done. And this is nuts what I'm doing. And I was so nervous. I'm like, people are going to just judge me so intensely on that. And then it's so funny. I'll get comments on videos. Some guy will come in and go, "Oh, you're just another guy who sits in front of his video game collection." I'm like, I'm the guy who invented that, man. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. And the thing is I don't think anybody else has had a set that hasn't really changed in 12 years. We're in a brand new universe of, with YouTube and stuff like that. Like people have seen me. I came onto the show. I was a smoker. I wore a bandana. Lost that. Then all of a sudden, started dating this girl. She came onto the show. She moved in. We got married, and now we're having a kid. I mean, like this is all over 12 years. People are seeing into people's lives now. It's so weird, and it's like I'm going to be in my 60s doing this show. If people like it or not, they'll be like, "Oh no, happy, senile gamer, it's doing it again." And I'm like, "You kids, and you got to play your E's before I'll be probably doing some gatekeeping at that point. Now you got to play Eastwick 1 and 2, kids. You don't know nothing." Type of thing. But
no, you'll be the happy console grandpa.
I will be, and I'll be happy to take that role because I was younger and got a chance to do it in my early 30s. All the way into my 60s. It's a brand new world we're living in, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's crazy with content. Like your podcast, you guys could do a 40-year podcast for crying out loud. Why not? Why not? Before you were limited by television and, "Oh, no, you're canceled." Now, the only person who cancels you is yourself. That's it. Type of thing. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Too fun. It is too fun. And it's amazing. It's with technology as good as it's gotten now. Look at what we're able to do. Like I would have loved to have done this when I was a kid, but I couldn't do that. Technology wasn't there.
How? Oh God, we talked about that, Matt. So Matt and I were on the first podcast, which is a great podcast. For if anybody's looking for podcast recommendations, check them out. But we were interviewed by them, and I explicitly talked about that for a while, about how before YouTube, and really like before you were able to create and share things easily online, trying to do creative projects was awful. It was like, let's go to an open mic at some garbage bar in the middle of nowhere that you have to like take the bus to, and like maybe you'll get up on stage for 5 minutes for like 3 people who are only there because they're also going to get up on stage for 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Basically, even, oh my God, we're going to sound like old people now. But before YouTube was around, I would just get together with my friends and we'd film funny videos to entertain ourselves. Because there was nothing to watch like that. We were making our own memes and funny things. And we still, to this day, me and my friends quote videos we did 23 years ago. We'll use lines from them all over the place. It's kind of like our OG language and our humor. We made memes for ourselves because they didn't exist. And so when YouTube came around, I saw something. When I saw the Angry Video Game Nerd doing it, I thought, man, he's doing amazing. And I don't know how he's doing it. But I'm like, if I can kind of do a little bit, my own thing, this could be kind of cool. And it's really, it has been cool. Overall, it's been incredible. And I got to say, for all the comments over the years, it's renewed my faith in humanity. It has. But probably 99% of the comments I get are incredible people. They're just incredible people. And then there's the 1%, which is just funny. It's just a weird percent, I call it. And that's fine. But I put out a video where I said I was sick and it got like 90,000 views, which blew me away. And all these people wishing me well? I couldn't believe it. Because I make a video game show on the internet. So it was really humbling and very nice. And let me tell you, there was like 3,000 or 4,000 comments. I read the first 3,000. I read 3,000 comments. Because I was so sick, I had nothing else to do. You know what I mean? I could actually sit and go, I can't move. I'm reading all these comments. And I read them all. I was humbled by people. What's your experience been with commenters and things like that on your channel over the years?
It's very similar to what you're saying. Yeah, it's very similar. It's mostly pretty positive. It's a different thing doing educational content because a lot of the comments are people trying to correct you. Like something that you said was wrong or you mispronounced a word, because it's not an opinion. You're delivering kind of information and facts rather than editorializing a lot. So it is, everybody's kind of audience is different, I think, on YouTube, which is a good thing and a bad thing, depending on what kind of content you're creating. But before we get into questions that our community has for you, I want to talk more about you being sick.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a big deal. Yeah. You were out. You were wiped out for 2 months with pneumonia.
Yeah.
And what did you learn about being a content creator who is unable to make content?
It's really weird because I went to San Francisco. I saw the Rise of Skywalker, and I was coming back on the plane, and I was like tapping my chest, and I'm going, I'm like, I got a small cough. I'm like, that's really weird. And all of a sudden I felt really bad. And long story short, came in, I had a fever for 3 days. I couldn't get off the couch. And I'm somebody who always sleeps in a bed. I don't sleep on couches. Doesn't happen. I was on the couch for 3 days. And then I was coughing my brains out for a good month. And then I was like, I should really see a doctor because
a month is a long time to cough.
It was full on. And I was like, I just was taking Tylenols and things like that. And I thought, I'm just going to get over it. And I wasn't getting over it. So I went to a doctor and he's like, what have you got? I said, I think it's pneumonia. He's like, why do you think that? I said, because I've been I had this terrible fever and I can't stop coughing. He's like, okay, here's some antibiotics. I took the antibiotics. I got through them. And then all of a sudden I had my friend Rob come over for my birthday. We tried to have a good time. I was very low energy. I was trying to be normal, but I wasn't. And it was kind of a real dull birthday because I felt bad that I didn't entertain him. This is kind of mindset I have. And then I'm like, okay, I think I'm getting better. Then I got stupidly worse, like really worse. And all of a sudden I couldn't lay on my side. I still to this day right now, can't lay on my back. I couldn't breathe. So if I lay down now, it's very uncomfortable, but I can do it. I can fall asleep. But laying on my back, no breath at all. It's the strangest thing in the world. And so on my birthday, I went to the hospital. I know we had every test in the world done. And my lungs were good. Didn't have the coronavirus. Did not have it. No. Don't have it. I had a CT scan on my chest, all that. And we looked at a lot of stuff. So then they started sending me for specialty stuff, for cardiology and for my lungs and all that. I was just getting to do all of those when all of a sudden COVID-19 hits. All of them were canceled or pushed back to such a date that it's months away that I can go in and get tested more thoroughly for what I have. So you'll have to forgive me even throughout this entire podcast with you guys. I'm out of breath. And I never am. It's very kind of, even I did my Final Fantasy VII review and I read a comment and somebody's like, is this guy out of breath? And I'm like, man, it shows at times. It shows at times. It depends how I'm sitting, if I'm straight or what. Or if I'm standing up, I'm great. But anyways, sorry. It's been such a strange thing because I've been so ill for 3.5 months and I'm still not right. It seems to me that something happened. There was a really bad strain of pneumonia and, stuff going around in December time that just kind of really kicked my ass, and it kicked a lot of other people's asses, and then the world got sick, and it's been so weird. It's like so weird, but we won't get into all of the world and sick and all that. But it was tough. It wasn't tough. It was tough. Not all these games were coming out, and I had no voice to talk about them, and I had no energy to play them. And it felt really frustrating. I know it sounds so dumb, but I got invited to an early screening of Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie. I was like, yes, but I was so sick I couldn't go and see it. There's no way. And so I couldn't review the movie, and I couldn't review games that were coming out. Phantasy Star Online came out, and I'm like, I can't talk. It's taken me a lot of work to get back to where I'm at now. So sorry for that rant. It's just been weird. I've never been this sick in my whole life. I've been really, knock on wood, a healthy guy. So it's been a very strange journey. Yeah, so sorry, there's my long answer in that one. Yeah.
That reminds me of this of a Roger Ebert article. You remember he had I think a cancer of the jaw or something.
Yeah, I felt terrible for him.
And
felt so bad for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and he documented all of that, until his death, right up to the very, very, very end. And one of the articles that he wrote that was mind-blowing to me was about eating food, because once he had the surgery, he couldn't eat food the same way. And the gist of his article was, you'd think that I would miss all of the foods that I love to eat. I don't actually miss any of that. You think you would and you don't. But what he missed was sharing meals with people. That it hit him that when he wasn't eating dinner with people, it was that social element was taken out for him. And did that come up for you at all, where you kind of were taken away by physical force from the gaming community on this? Did that feel fun?
It felt frustrating because I was taken away from what I love. So my passion, I couldn't do. And so this sounds, I'll give you a day in the life back then. I'd get up in the morning and it's Vancouver. It's dark outside. It's raining all day. It's just all through January. I feel like hell. And I go for a shower and I'm moaning and I'm coughing all day. And I have such anxiety because I couldn't breathe. And it was just and then I kept thinking, and I kept going onto YouTube and watching all of my friends who were healthy. And I was so jealous, not because of their success, but because they were having fun. They were enjoying themselves and having, this great amount of entertainment that we all celebrate, which is video games. I couldn't do that. So I felt like I was away. I felt like I was on an island away from civilization. And I didn't feel like I was a part of it, of that anymore. I thought, I'm not a part of life anymore. I'm just it's not a relevancy thing. It's not about that to me. It was just I couldn't have be a part of the fun that the human race was having. I was not in the human race anymore. So it was really weird, really strange. So yeah, I felt really bad for him on having to deal with that. I watched a lot of it, but it was heartbreaking for me to see him like that. I felt so bad. Do you know what they say? Oh God! There's that great director, John Milius, who directed Conan and all that. He's got now that guy. Yeah. That guy has the greatest voice of a generation. I mean, he was just like an admiral, on a set, telling people what to do and all that. An incredible speaker, poetic, and then.
If anybody doesn't know him, too, the guy, what's the guy's name in Walter in the Big Lebowski?
Yeah.
With the glasses that John Goodman plays?
Walter Sobchak.
Walter was kind of based on John
Oh, that's
Milius.
Fascinating. Oh, wow.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah, he also did Red Dawn. He directed that as well. And all that.
Yeah.
So he's a really great writer, really great speaker. And I was so horrible. He had a stroke and he lost the ability to speak. I mean, it's like a musician, a violinist, and they get cramps in their hands and can't use their hands to do something that they love. It's horrible when that happens to a person, and to a small degree, I felt that at Christmas, and it was horrible. And I kept saying to my wife, "Am I going to get better? Am I going to get better?" I've actually thought at one point that I would never be well again, because it was just going on forever. And so it was nice to come back, and it's the one thing that keeps me going. I especially what's going on in the world right now, being able to talk to an audience and talk to people about the things that I love. I just think it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy the feedback, and I enjoy the process. It makes me feel like a human being. It makes me feel normal. It's become such a part of my routine for 12 years. I can imagine not doing it. Pretty much.
Are you taking extra precautions, more so than most people, just because of your current condition? I mean, you said you're not even better yet. Where are you at with your recovery from this sickness, let alone the prospect of getting COVID-19?
I think this is going to sound even stranger, but I don't think it's anything to do with my lungs. It may, and I'm not saying, I don't know what the answer is, but it may be to do with my heart, because I was getting sent for all these cardiology tests. Because every time I'm on an angle, so standing up I'm great. On an angle, if I bend over to pick something up, I'm out of breath. It's just weird. And I'm somebody who could, do flips. I honestly swear to God, So I don't think it's to do with that. I don't know what it is, but I know it's getting better, but it's just very, very slow. The one person I'm really trying to look after is my wife, because she's 7 months pregnant. So when I go off to get food right now, man, it's a procedure and it's stressful and I'm sweating and I'm going out the door into the apocalypse and quite literally ready to take anybody out who gets in my way. To defend, to bring food substance back to my my life pod for my life mate, and our future small child who's going to be born into this pod. So I kind of feel that when I'm off into the wastelands out there. It's a very strange time. And the thing is I got so sick about talking about being sick. I'm always talking to my wife about it's so annoying that it's like it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and so I'm very happy that I can just walk around. I can talk about video games. I can play video games the same as what I did. So I'm very, very thankful where I'm at right now. So that's a good thing, type of thing.
We're thankful to have you, because we were supposed to have you in December,
right,
before you got sick. You were supposed to come on the show,
forgot.
and then you got nailed with that. So it's a huge relief to have you back and you making videos again. And let me tell you, before we get into questions, you are like the only person from back then whose videos I still watch, and I think that's just kind of like a testament to your personality and maybe the positivity and the passion and how genuine you are with your stuff. But there are a lot of people from that era who do still make videos, and I just stopped watching them a long time ago. But not yours.
Thank you for that.
I still like that.
I really genuinely try to keep the enthusiasm, and I don't have to fake it because it's there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to make up why I like a video game. Like in a new Game Stuff episode, I bought that game because it's a story. And if you ever watched any of my new Game Stuff episodes, everything there has a reason and a rhyme. I shot one yesterday, and I ended, and I always feel so good when I finish it. And I don't know why I feel like I'm really showing the world that, the reason why I like this is this. That's all I'm really doing. It's like, it's not really a magic trick, where I think on YouTube, a lot of people are doing YouTube for many reasons, right? Some people come in and they're like, I want to be famous. That's a goal. That's just so weird to me, or I want to make money. It's like, okay, I guess that's a goal. Yeah. It just didn't seem like I kind of came in, and you came in at the right time. We came in at the right time because we were drawn to this new platform because it gave us a voice to say something, and we're still saying it now. So I'm very, very thankful. I'm very thankful for YouTube. I know a lot of people bitch about YouTube, and granted, there's some reasons why, but what a free service to upload videos to. Free. I don't have to pay every month.
It's pretty incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And
Kevin was talking about going to that public access class to maybe get a show on TV. And I think about it with writing. When you were talking about the ability to put all of these things online and talk to people, I think before stuff like blogs and all of that, if you were a writer, you were writing something and you were sending out articles. Sometimes, magazines mostly still accepted hard copies, like in the late 90s. And then you would wait weeks probably to get rejected. And since you can't send out a bunch of the same article to a bunch of places, because if 5 say yes, it's going to be exclusive to one. You can't do that. So you have to go one by one. And like, this blows. This is the crappiest, awful process that you can think of. And all of a sudden, in a 5-year span, everything changed. You could be working on several different projects at once. You could advance one and cut back another one literally on the same day based on feedback. And that was 20 years ago. Now you can express individual little micro thoughts on Twitter. You have direct access to so many important people. You can comment on their stuff and they will see it. You can ship something to their DMs if they've got them open. You can email it. Like, this is so radically different that I don't know how younger people can fully understand this.
Right.
It's shocking. And even with the PS4, this is another thing. Okay, going back to that about what's different. most of the games that I've gotten from the PlayStation Store, and I click a thing and it starts downloading on my TV, and it's there in like 20 minutes, and I can play that game. Where Kevin talks about going to Toys R Us to look at the NES games, I remember going to KB Toys, which, how often would I get there? It might be a couple weeks before I'm going to go, and I would really look forward to that chance just to look at the wall of video games. And now if I like something for $10 or $20, which in real dollars is way less than games cost in the Nintendo era, I click a thing and I can play it in 15 minutes. This is crazy. This is nuts, and it's absolutely amazing. And when I see you guys on YouTube and think about what Kevin talked about when he was, 15 years ago before it, when I would have these conversations and you knew how slow this was for the guy, how hard this was for him. And now it's kind of push button easy. It's crazy. It's so cool to see. And
it's just funny that you just press a button, pre-order, the game will automatically download for you when it's out. You wake up in the morning and you're like, you got your coffee, you just turn on the TV. My game is there. It's there. Didn't have to drive down to Walmart and past the old ladies to get to it and all that. It's
Babbage's and electronics.
Or to hear those words. Did you pre-order it? You don't have to worry about that no mores. No mores. Yeah, for sure. We live in an amazing time.
Oh, Johnny, I have one more story. Sorry. I have one more story for you to go back to the beginning of our conversation about being nerds, okay? I pre-ordered Final Fantasy VII from KB Toys, the same KB Toys that Matt's talking about because we grew up together. And when you did that, you got a t-shirt. Yes. You got a Final Fantasy VII t-shirt. I never wore it to school because I didn't want to get made fun of. That's true. That is 100% true. I never wore that Final Fantasy VII shirt ever.
I wore
Not
them
once
proudly
because I knew I was gonna get picked on.
I was 23.
Do you still have the shirt?
He still has. And guess what? I have two of them because I go to a store and pre-order back then. You got the shirt right away. I think that's how it works. You pay $10 and you got a shirt. So I was like, I'm getting a $10 shirt. And let me tell you, that shirt has so many holes in it. Because you didn't get Final Fantasy shirts back then. That wasn't a thing. So I wore it proudly. No. I remember the logo on the side. I felt so cool. So cool. And I felt like a cool guy. And the cloud in the back. Oh my God. That was awesome. So good. So good.
I just needed to tell you that. So we definitely have some questions that we want to hit real quick from our community too.
Sure.
We do. Trev's Dead, who he streams on Twitch. He hasn't done a bunch of gaming streams lately. He's done like introspective streams. He's got the best voice ever, by the way. It's just the smoothest, most amazing voice. He asks though, what do you do to make video game content stand out in the age of Let's Plays and streams and reviewers and just the general saturation of video content?
Wow. How to stand out from everybody else?
Is it even possible?
Me and Kevin could easily say, I know with Kevin, I know this 100%. If I went to him today and said, I want to do a new video game show that's never been done, he could have 10 answers how to do it. And I would have the same. Because we have the same kind of energy. We can create and keep on creating. I could come up with 1,000 different shows. For example, have a sidekick. Have something funny. Is your show going to be comedy? Is your show going to be serious? Think about what you want to say, and are you going to enjoy saying it? And can you keep on saying it? Can you keep on producing that kind of content? There's so many factors, but you need to know what kind of show. Okay, it's a show. It's talking about video games. What's your location? Is your location a forest? Do you just go walking in a forest and you have a weird creature that attacks you every time? I don't know. There's so many possibilities. Life is amazing that way. There's so many ways to do things. I work with Victor Lucas once in a while, and we're filming in the middle of the streets, talking about movie reviews, and we're doing our video game reviews in the streets, and people are walking by and heckling us and all that, and it's part of the fun. It's great. But there's so many ways to produce things. It's like, Yeah, just be imaginative and think, what can you bring into it? Maybe you know, I'm going back to the puppet thing again. I don't know why I'm on the puppet thing, but maybe you know an amazing puppeteer. And then you could do something with that. And these puppets review video games. I know we've seen content like that, but in that direction. It doesn't have to be a guy sitting at a desk with all his games behind him like me. It can be completely different and twice as interesting. You know, like definitely. Don't let your imagination stop you. I think that's probably it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Boromir wants to know something that frankly I want to know too, which is, are you wearing pants at the moment?
I am, but I'm wearing sweatpants. Like all of America.
Is that a distinctly different thing, or is that a class of pant?
It is. Do you not know sweatpants?
No, I do, but I'm just saying, like, categorically, if we're going to categorize this, is somebody who wears sweatpants wearing a type of pants, or are they just wearing sweatpants?
I think they're wearing sweatpants. Or as me and my wife call them happy pants. You know, like, hey, put your happy pants on. And,
so the answer is no.
The
answer is no. You're not wearing pants, but yes, you are wearing sweatpants.
Yes, and usually, if it wasn't a pandemic, I'd be wearing jeans.
All right.
When I sit here to do the show, I have to wear jeans usually, but not, you know, that's all out the window now.
Why is that?
There are no rules anymore.
Wear jeans.
When I'm working on the show or working on here in general, I always wear jeans for the day. It makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm active and doing things I'm part of the world, and I'm not just part of the sweatpant community. Because when I wear sweatpants, I get a little bit lazier. I'm like, I think I'll sit on the couch and, this video game looks interesting. Or, I'm just going to sit and binge watch this show for like 40 hours. You know, so I try to stay away from the sweatpants as much as I can. It's bad for my health.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting thing that I hadn't thought about is kind of getting dressed for work, even though you work from home, right? I mean, that's a real thing. And if it's psychologically helpful to you to have kind of like more focus and energy, if you're dressed like you're going somewhere, even though you're not, then I think that's interesting.
It's very strange.
Yeah, I actually don't own a pair of sweatpants. I just realized as I've been thinking about it, as you've talked about it, and I do not at this time own
what are you
a pair
wearing?
of sweatpants. I need to get one. Right now I have shorts on, but most of the time I wear like heavy kind of Carhartt work pants. That's just what I wear all day because my house is
that
really
makes
cold.
sense. I also in summertime love shorts. It's shorts all summer. That's all there is to that. Yeah, it's actually getting to the weather where I'm like, shorts are coming. They're coming because we're in Vancouver here. It's a little bit colder. Yeah, for sure. Your weather's pretty cold though right now, isn't it?
Dude,
yes.
I woke up to snow.
Snowing right now. Yeah, it's snowing now.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So base weight has a question about a tier list that Kevin and I recently did on Smash characters. And the champion of that tier list was Isabelle. And Baseweight wants to know how you feel about Isabelle winning that tier list.
Being like the top character? Like what?
Yeah, Kevin, how would you describe the process for how we rank them?
Well, I should preface this by saying Matt didn't know probably 75% of the characters at all.
If not more, yeah.
I was unfamiliar with a lot of them as well because I don't play Smash. I just don't like fighting games the way that you don't like, playing the Calls of Duties of the world. Fighting games are like just not my thing. I don't find them interesting. So I don't play Smash. So there were a lot of characters I didn't know, and I didn't know how any of them are in Smash. Right. So we mostly were ranking them by kind of like their status, how legendary they are. Mm-hmm. For instance, the S tier was all the usual crew of like Mario, Link, Zelda, like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That's mostly how we were ranking them. So I would say that Isabelle became the champ based on popularity. Like it was really more of a popularity contest than like a gameplay thing. But I was surprised personally at how overwhelmingly beloved Isabelle is over everybody else.
Whoa.
Everybody loves Isabelle.
I guess if I was a 14-year-old girl, I'd probably feel that way too. No, I'm joking. My pick would be it's got to be like Terry Bogard, very underappreciated character. And when they brought him into Smash, I was over the moon. So Terry Bogard over Isabelle, get real. Get real. Yeah, I mean, people are going, some guys on his keyboard right now, losing his mind listening to that. That's so funny. No, Isabelle!
I mean, dude, what percentage of people that have played Smash do you think have played Fatal Fury?
I know. It's so weird when they brought Tiny. When they brought him in, I was like, I can't even believe this. I was really happy for that because the Neo Geo was finally recognized by the mass world because Smash is that big. So when you put Terry Bogard in, people were coming into my videos because I dress up as Terry Bogard, right? At times. And they're like, oh my God, that's who Terry Bogard is? They finally were starting to understand what that is. They even said by putting Dragon Quest characters in Smash makes them more universally appealing. They sell more Dragon Quest games in general because of their presence in Smash. So Terry Bogard is known by the world now and is definitely more beloved by me than Isabelle. Screw her.
Well, this is the penultimate question. It's also from Baseweight. He's a music guy. He makes some really incredible music. And he says, or he asks, as someone who is looking into going into the game industry as a producer, specifically with sound, what's something that you'd like to see change in the gaming industry?
To do with sound?
Sure, or generally.
Geez, you know, the thing is we're in such a healthy time with music and sound. And I mean, I play so many video games and some have these big orchestra, big, huge orchestras, and others have this beautiful techno beats and all that. I think everybody's bringing their own flavor and talent to video games. So this guy, he's already got his talent within him. He's going to bring it. Whatever he has, that's the answer. That's the answer right there. What is his creative things that are in him that he wants to give to the industry type of thing. I mean, that's what's interesting because everybody has something to bring. If you think you do have it or not, like some people are sitting on the best video game ideas ever. They just have to say it. They just have to say, I'm going to make a game about this and go and do it. So he's got all the answers already. For sure. Like, I mean, it's all been done. Music, sound effects, it's all been done.
Yeah.
But it's his unique talent that's really going to speak out beyond anything else, for sure.
And you even collect the vinyls, right? Video game soundtrack vinyls. I know that you've talked about it a bunch in your new game stuff.
I am crazy for it. I love it. I mean, you know what it is? For me, it's like, it's a what I call, I don't have many moments, but I have what I call like I don't name it. I'm naming it right now for the podcast. Like a John moment where with whatever's going on in the world, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I have a small moment here. I put on a record and I grab my coffee and I sit there and I just lose myself in the music. And I'm not looking at I'm not looking at my computer screen. I'm just kind of looking out the window or I'm looking at the floor or whatever. And I just kind of go into this beautiful place where it's me and that music. And it's not even anything to do with vinyl versus MP3 versus CD or anything like that. It's because I think I'm away from the screens, and it's like I'm not. It's like because I'm not on a I'm always on a screen. You guys are always on screens, right? We always are. Yep. It's actually kind of scary how much we're always on screens. I'm very conscious of that. I try to have a moment where I'm away at times to get away from that. So that's why I like vinyl. I think I love it. It's a big, beautiful, artwork on there and the slip cases. It feels like you own something again. And I'm all from that point of view of the 80s, just like owning a record is kind of neat. It's kind of neat.
So the last question comes from Matthew Tabor of the Create Unknown podcast. As a Canadian, who is your favorite Degrassi character?
Oh, my God, this is so crazy, dude. This is so fucking crazy. Okay, I would love to bring them in, but I'm not going to cut the podcast to run out and get them. I bought, this is nuts, in January, both box sets of Degrassi, the originals. And me and my wife watched 48 episodes during January because I was so sick. 48 episodes of that. She'd never seen it. And we got super addicted. Oh my God. And we started getting angry and talking to the screen. It was nuts. It was so wild. Like, oh my God. Like, I won't even tell you because it won't be appropriate of some of the things that we were talking about while we were watching this, and some of the death wishes we wanted for some characters, because like some of them are so horrible in this show. And the show was anyway. Sorry, you got me going with the great. Who would I pick as my favorite character? Oh my God! This is wonderful. This is so wonderful because there's so many choices. Oh my God. It's definitely not Lucy. I don't like that Lucy, you know, especially she was always shoplifting and stealing her parents' alcohol. See, this is how fresh the show is for me. Who would I pick? Definitely not Joey. He's so dumb and creepy at times. I mean, when he was hitting on Liz, like she came over and he's like trying to have sex with her. I'm like, dude, it's so inappropriate. He was so weird. Oh my God.
So the best thing here is that I had no idea that you'd ever even watch this show. I mean, most people in Canada, especially of a certain age who were around when the original was around, instead of the next generation, pretty much everybody's seen it. But I had no idea that you'd really seen it. You know, I just threw this out there because I always liked Degrassi. I thought it was a there's no show like it, or there wasn't any show like it in the U.S. that touched on that type of behavior. Like, those kids go through some serious things.
They go through hell, man. They go through pure hell. Every day is hell.
Yeah.
And did you know the end of Degrassi, the first season, the fucking school burns down? I mean, it's insane. Nothing can ever go right. Everybody's finally having a good night. The school's on fire. So yeah, you're right. It's one of those shows that every day, every episode, it's dealing with a topic, and it's so raw that it's uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
But that's its appeal, right? Yeah. That
Yeah, and you're right. It's like, oh, so this 7th grader is pregnant now. What do we do? Like, it's crazy, the predicaments there, especially for the time when that show came out. But you have to commit to a favorite on this. Who's the champion of your Degrassi tier list?
Oh my God. Oh no, I'm not gonna pick Wheels. Snake? No. Oh my God.
Well, Snake had the staying power, and back being the principal.
I know. Trust me. I know. I even know that. Do you know Kevin Smith was a big fan of it back in the day? And he said when he first made his real money, he went and spent $8,000 to buy the original tapes because they were, I guess, an educational item. The schools had to pay a lot of money for it. And to get them, he had to pay this outrageous amount of money. This is before the DVDs, and this is back in the 90s he got them. And he was so thrilled to get them. Oh, God. No, Caitlin.
This is so funny to watch. Like, people can't see your face, but he is seriously toiling, like seriously toiling over making a decision on this. I don't know anything about this show. I'll just put that out there.
Can you guys just talk for 1 sec? I'm getting the box sets.
Okay. Well then, Matt, we can take this time where you can actually explain what this show is, because I don't know it. I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Drake was on it. That's all I know.
Yeah, he was on the second iteration, the new generation, I think, or the next class. I forget which is which, but there have been 3 types, and it's kind of a 90210 type show where it follows the lives of kids at the Degrassi Community School. But the neat thing is that, at least in the second series, they had kind of a group that was middle school, and then a group, Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, yep. It follows them up through. And so you have these plot lines where the older kids are usually involved in a problem that's far more serious, and the smaller kids have like more social problems that you'd think of in like grade 7 and 8. But there's just this constant like pain that goes through the plots and the subplots, and it's this spider web where everybody's connected through brothers and sisters, and who's dating who, and what the parents are doing. It's really, really wild in terms of drama for like under 18s. And Drake got his start by being Jimmy on that series. And Jimmy's character, he was a star basketball player, I think it was, and a school shooting, which Of course, you've got to put that in there. Jimmy gets shot and he's in a wheelchair. You know, so that, like, they're not light problems. You know, it's not like, Sally cheated on the algebra exam. No, it's generally really heavy stuff.
Like the teachers are trying to molest the children. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's like, I'm laughing at that, but it's as you watch, you're just horrifying. Like horrified by what's happening. But there's just nothing like it in the U.S. because it's so much. Not when that was on. I mean, the topics are so heavy. It is like, you get teachers and student relationships and stuff. And it's crazy to think about this being in one place that's extremely similar to the U.S. and then not being just over the border. So yeah, when Degrassi got beamed in, I was in college and it was on one of the cable channels, and I started watching it. And I'm like, this is not for kids. How is this for kids? Because this is almost too adult for me.
Hey, put it this way, it was aired in England and they even took it off the airways. The character that I dislike the most as my pick, it will be Lucy. I just do not like that Lucy. Not at all. Terrible filmmaker in it as well. She does some music videos within it, and I'm not a fan of those. Damn that Lucy. Yeah. Shoplifter that she was. That's how.
No favorite though. No
because
favorite. You can't pick anyone.
All of the characters are all equally unlikable, and they do that on purpose. And they actually, when some bad things happen to certain characters, they've led up to make you not like that character. So when it happens to them, it's not as much of a blow. Did you know that? That's the writing that they did back then. So like, there's this one episode where this girl, I think it's Melanie. Is there Melanie? No, it's the blonde girl. I forget her name off the top of my head right now. She's going out with this abusive boyfriend who's beating her up all the time. And it's really brutal. You can't believe it when you watch this episode. And so they wrote her as being a horrible person through the whole show. So because they knew they were going to get to this, so it would lessen the blow. So you wouldn't be like, oh, you'd be like, oh, I kind of understand that. That's the writing. I didn't say this is right. I'm saying they wrote it to be that way. It's weird. It's a weird show.
And they do have several instances in all of the series around Degrassi where they put you in a position to have sympathy, very real sympathy for somebody who sucks. Somebody who has done awful, horrible things or who is generally unlikable. Like that will happen. This person who's just been awful the whole time is then in a domestic abuse thing. And of course, they're the victim on that, and you feel bad for them. And it makes it very confusing because you just come in knowing that you hate this person. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I have empathy for this irredeemable person. And they do that kind of thing over and over in Degrassi. So it's an extremely complicated
and it's
show.
30 years old and we're still talking about it. Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I love that that's what we ended on. We spent this whole time talking about like the nuances of YouTube, gaming culture, creative culture, ripping on Isabel, for being something that only 14-year-old girls like. But then the ultimate like actual discussion ends up being about Degrassi. So that's pretty perfect.
Oh my God.
A show that 14-year-old girls love.
I was kidding. Meanwhile, all these 14-year-old girls are at my door with pitchforks trying to kill me. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
But that's okay. You can calm them down with Degrassi.
Yeah, I'll just answer the door just as Terry Bogard saying, hit the goddamn road, kids. Get out of here. Get out of here. This ain't happening.
Oh, my God. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your limited lung capacity breath with us. I know that it's been a struggle. We really hope that you get better soon. But hey, you're back to making videos. I hope everybody goes and checks out Happy Console Gamer. You really should. It's the most, to me, the most like genuine game reactions that I found. There's no pomp and circumstance, and getting angry like fake in a fake way over stuff and all that stuff. There's none of that. It's all stripped back and it's just pure Johnny.
I really want to thank you for having me on today. I've always wanted to come on and talk to you guys for sure. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, go check them out.
We'd like to thank everybody who we talk to every day in the Discord, and especially the patrons who make this show happen. Thanks to our editor Marcus Allen and to associate producers Jeff Davis, Isaac Teal, Trev's Dead, James Gallagher, Baseweight, Andrew Stimson, Keaton Sample, Jesse Robertson, Boromir, Monsieur Chinchilla, Sean Malone, Jen Mafasanti, Kevin with an E. Menard, Monahim Yogurt96, Fraken, and our newest addition, Mikhail. Thank you for signing up, Mikhail. We love it. Also, thanks to baby wrangling super producer Ben Webster. Thanks as well to Paula Lieber and the stunningly gorgeous Mo Lewitt, and to our very generous sponsor of every episode,